Okay, so we stuck this time. This time it stuck. Okay, I tried a different title to see if we got it to work this time. Chat filter. We want all messages. Okay, we've got all messages. That's good. Donald Trump's. Hey, quit now. Quit. Hey, quit. Okay, so I'm not sure what's going on right now. I don't know, maybe it's just because of the weekend and I don't know. Okay, we're at 2 minutes and alright, I'm still wondering right now does anyone besides me are our live streams going to be done with or at some point, or I'm not sure. I'm wondering that. Are live streams being deprecated or changed over? Or going into short... Oh, no, we have some people here. Hello. I didn't know. Oh, my goodness. It took quite a while to... took over 2 minutes today, so we must have a lot of people on the internet right now because it took a long time for it to feed out into the YouTube sphere of... because I had 0 for such a long time. And so I was watching Donald sign a whole... Now he's in Scotland playing golf this week. And I am so shocked that Donald does not have better security than what he had in Scotland, because there was reporters and people who are taking pictures of him really, really close by, but they weren't actually on the property where he was playing golf at. And so Wednesday he signed this bill, or he not a bill, an executive order, stating that he does not like wokeism at all, and that we want accurate information on the internet. So that he had an official next to him who said, what exactly he was signing, and then Donald repeated it, and said he was going to be signing an executive order to get rid of wokeism and having an accurate internet instead of all the misinformation. And that was the thing I was wondering. Now, this is the question that I would have had for Donald if I could actually ask him the question, where does the wokeism come from? Who was doing it? That's the thing I wanted to know. Who in the world was doing it? Because the misinformation, I think it started around 2015. That's what it seemed like to me. I don't know if anybody else felt that. Now, the younger generations who have graduated high school, maybe they don't fully understand the what's going on with things. And I know on C-SPAN they have some young guy named Sam Altman, which is kind of odd, and he's talking about ChatGPT, and as though the internet... I mean, sometimes they got these young kids on there and they come on, there's nothing wrong with them talking about stuff. It's just like, but they talk about the internet as though it's just brand new, as though it was just created 2 or 3 years ago, which is so strange. when it's actually been around for a very long time. And, so, but Donald, though, his executive orders were kind of strange. He said what he did say was that he has respect for Silicon Valley now. So something happened, something transpired between Donald Trump and Silicon Valley that he is not going to tamper with what's going on. Prince Adams, hello. How do I go live? I have over 50 subscribers, and so if you guys are new, feel like subscribe and hit the subscribe, and but you've got to have over 50 subscribers, and so when you hit the little trends, the little micro trends, it's likely that you're going to get subscribers who will follow you, be that using shorts or lives. You've got to, consistently make videos about things that are somewhat popular. Everything doesn't have to be popular. And I'm currently not monetized, even though I believe today I reached the 500 mark to be monetized, but I don't have a thing on there to say apply. So mine actually said that I could apply at 500, even though my button is not available. So sometimes it takes 24 hours. So I don't know if that's just the super chats and super stickers or what, or if I actually have to. It looks to me like I've even reached the 97,000 for shorts, but for some, I don't know, it seems kind of strange that it's not showing up for me to be able to apply. You've got YouTube Shorts. I know I have YouTube Shorts too. If you have 50 followers, you should be able to go live. Yes, 50 followers is what it takes. 50 people for you to be able to go live. That's what it's saying. It's always been that way, I believe. 50 followers for you to go live. You've got 26. So I'll give you a secret. What you guys can do. You know what you do? Don't be mean to people. Okay, so when you go to the different live streams, just put a little hi. You know how you have, okay, you wait 5 seconds. And so there's a little hi that pops up inside of your chat. And so you can hit the little hi button, say something nice. Don't be mean, because a lot of people have been tremendously challenging to get along with for the past several years. And so if you write nice things, or just try to get a feel for what the content creator is about. If they are angry or something, just move on. Don't say anything to them. I know it's hard sometimes, but just move on to someone else and see if you can find someone else who's going to mesh with what you're talking about. You have 1,321 followers, Prince Adams. So you should be able to go live. If you have 1,321 followers, Prince Adams, you should be able to go live. You should have been, I've got more than 50 followers, so you should be able to go live, shouldn't you? I'm thinking that you should. In fact, I'm thinking you should be able to monetize your channel if you're in the United States, or according to your partner country, because not all countries are the same related to, do you have a camera? If you've got more than 50, you can go live. You have been, it's on your camera. If you got a camera phone, you most definitely should be able to go live on your YouTube. So, okay, so you go to YouTube and there's a plus sign at the bottom of the app. There's a plus sign at the bottom. I'm not sure where it's at on other devices, such as Apple, because sometimes they're all a little bit different. And so you can select the plus sign that's on your phone, and then you should be able to go live. Now, if you're using, I don't know how it would work with a Amazon tablet. Now, if you have a tablet that's different, or say that you're a child, you're going to have to ask your parents, because some of you could be using the features that are baked in, and your parents might have you on something so that you can't go live. And so if you're a young child or something like that, you might have to talk to your parents about that. So they might have some settings that they were able to control to prevent you from going live. So after you go to the plus, you go to the press live. Yes. And you have a forward facing and you have a backwards facing. So you can have the camera facing you, and then you also have a slash through. There's like a slash through where you can shut it off so you don't have to show your face on camera. Or you can have it facing away from you as well, if you want to. That's your choice on how you do that. You also have the option. I noticed that we are getting some of our features back from what we've had in the past, because we started consistently losing them for some reason a few years ago. And I think it was part of the I didn't realize that Silicon Valley was going to give us the ability to do the pushback that we did, but they did. They allowed us to do that, without, to show the power. I mean, some of this, I think, is actually Silicon Valley providing us with the means to be able to push back and say, look, if you guys are going to exclude us and think that we're the past, you got another thing coming. Because now, myself, I was expressing, I kept asking the question. I didn't want to do it. I didn't want to do what they were doing. I didn't want to do what Hollywood was doing. I just kept asking the question, why is it that they always get so many views and they have so many followers and the rest of us don't? No, those questions were answered for me. You have an Android. If you have an Android, you should be able to go live today. Absolutely, you should be able to go live. You'll have to look at your settings. I mean, you can go live without I don't think you have to submit any identification to go live. So you should. That's what I'm using right now, is an Android. I'm having the better results with Android, and so when Google does their beta testing with a lot of features, the one thing I've noticed is that they push it out through the Android systems, and then they'll push it on out through the other systems a little bit later with some updates and things like that. So I noticed that because I have a Samsung Galaxy S20, I believe is what it is. And so eventually, it still is not as good as the Pixel. The Pixel has things so I can actually read what I'm writing, where on the Galaxy, I can't read and correct mistakes if I write something when I'm creating a scene using the AI app. I have to kind of back out of it and then just start all over again. Are you supposed to press learn more? You can press learn more if you want to. If you find that that's something helpful, you can press the learn more button. But sometimes the learn more button doesn't have enough information there to learn more. Now one of the things that like when I was earning revenue, I liked adding additional details. So for example, with learn more, with the YouTube help and things like that, I would go into additional details and I would make some elaborate video tutorials, and when I say elaborate, sometimes I would use sketches and I would make up some images and things like that to go along with the videos showing how things were done, because I like to try to make tutorials as simple as possible related to, but then it's like, well, when you lose revenue and then you don't get views, then it kind of takes away the incentive to do something for free, and just keep doing it for free all the time. And so, so there's a counter element who has been messing up the internet for quite some time on purpose. And I'm curious who's doing it, because Donald was talking about this woke thing, and it's like somebody had to sponsor woke. Who sponsored it? Somebody had to sponsor this woke agenda for it to be so horrific across the internet. Somebody had to sponsor. Hi, Prince Adams. Now, what you did right there with your little hi, you can go do that into other live streams. That's what I do. I go in there and I'll say hi and, just wave the little hand in there. And then you can maybe write something and, politely ask, like, well, what are we talking about today? What's on your mind, or something like that, to kind of get a feel for what people are talking about, because there's a lot of people who are still very, very sensitive related to things. The sensitivity part is going to be around for quite some time, I believe. So I don't know. I don't think it'll ever go away, or maybe it will. It might go away. I don't know. But people are very, very sensitive because they've had hello, Vinicius Luckman. They've had a very hard time talking about things. And sometimes talking about things when it's hard is them personally, individually, having a hard time talking about it. And then sometimes it's the censorship doesn't help. It does not help, because I know after everything happened to me from 2018 until now, it just makes things worse. For me, it just made things worse. I mean, I still don't feel better about things. And so I like to talk about things related to being honest about how I feel. And, there was someone I just saw, what else was it? A news story that's saying that senior citizens are supposed to be getting $2,400 a month in Social Security. And I was just thinking, I don't believe that. I don't believe that one bit. It doesn't seem like anything has happened for people who are retired. And why would it? Because that comes from the taxpayers, and they're already talking about how people are having a hard time and not getting by. And they've talked about the stimulus that's been going into people's accounts now ever since they did the stimulus back in 2021 during COVID. And there's people saying they're getting a stimulus every month. And it's like, who are these people that are getting this? And why? Why are they getting it? Because the rest of us aren't getting it. And so it's like, that's all I have seen is a bunch of great big lies from somebody, whoever this woke agenda is. And it's like, well, what is a woke agenda when all they're doing is telling a bunch of lies, and they're blubbering up the internet so that those of us who had created something that we actually liked and that was working for us, and this really did include some people from Legacy Media. I truly believe there was people who were part of Legacy Media. Maybe they're not part of it anymore. And when I say Legacy Media, that's the old media, or they were part of the networks. They've gotten out of their networks and their contracts now, but they still know how it works. And so we had created some really beautiful connections with each other, I thought. And we had a lot of good things that, even though nobody gets along all of the time, but the thing is, we knew how some of our little niche trends and cycles worked together. But if we're not going to get paid, it makes it really hard for us to want to do stuff. So it's just like, I've always said this and I'm going to keep saying it, and I want you guys to remember this if you're young going into the future. Why would you want to go to work and work for free? And that's what the internet is asking people to do, uh, with how they do things. So there's an element of people who are part of legacy media. They get paid millions and millions and millions of dollars, and they get to live in big fancy houses, and they get all this big fancy stuff. Well, then they exclude everybody else on the internet. So let's see. What do I mean with work for free? Okay, so what I mean by work for free is, I have a couple of examples. So, for example, you have kids who are part of family vlogging on the internet. And so the kids work for free. So there's parents who literally have their kids working in their videos. And they have consistently showed their kids in their family vlogging videos, and the kids are working for free. And I'm not sure that the parents ever thought about this, but they still do it. The parents still do it. And so they're showing their kids, and their kids are working for free. And so Hollywood at one time had said that when they put babies in videos, and I remember hearing about this way, way, way back in the 1970s. And they would say, well, when we put a baby in a video, they said usually we use two of them that kind of look like each other. Sometimes we use twins. And they said when we do it, we might use the baby for an hour at the most. That's what they said, an hour at the most. Now, modern time vlogging families, they will have their kids in videos all the time, and their older kids, and that's how they got views, because kids do silly things. And so it's kind of a now there's another thing related to working for free. So for example, when you just make videos and you put them on the internet, you could be considered you're working for free. So if you're making so if let's say you have a talent of something, you have a talent of writing musical notes or something like that. Or let's say you have a talent of mowing the lawn, and you're taking video of yourself mowing the lawn and putting it on YouTube, but you're not getting paid. Well, why are you doing that? So you're volunteering to mow lawns for free, and you're not getting paid on YouTube to put your videos up. Why would you do that? Why would you do that? So Venetia Sluckman says, I think kids working for free as long as it's for their own parents, since these days it's hard to take care of children today. Like some work 12 hours a day and don't have time for cleaning the house. Well, what do you mean the kids are working for 12 hours a day and don't have time for cleaning the house? I mean, because that sounds like Cinderella. And I know my daughter she forever professed that she was Cinderella, and because I had her doing chores. Now, my kids, I didn't have them doing a lot of chores, but when I had them doing something, they didn't like the chores. Now, they begged, they wanted to do the dishes, because I would put a bunch of soap suds in the sink, and they saw the soap suds as something that was appealing with doing the dishes. And I always thought, well, it was kind of fun. For me, I got a little step stool. They stood on the step stool. They begged and wanted to do the dishes. I didn't know why. And then I realized they wanted to do the dishes because of the soap suds. And so they would just play with the soap suds instead of actually doing the dishes. So they were spending more time making soap beards on their chin than they were actually doing the dishes. Even though they did them semi-decent, so I didn't care. But eventually then they didn't like doing the dishes anymore. They didn't want to do chores. But they were getting older, and I would still have them do the dishes, and they didn't want to do the dishes anymore. So you mean that your parents are working 12 hours a day. Why are your parents working 12 hours a day? What are they doing that they're working 12 hours a day? Venetia Sluckman. This has been a topic of discussion, related to the public school teachers, because I know Donald Trump had mentioned something about, was it him or someone else? They said school teachers should not have to be getting a second and third job just to make ends meet. Now, the public school teachers are met with the same thing that everybody else is, the same thing that senior citizens have been met with because of inflation and prices just getting higher. Then public school teachers are put in that same category of, well, suck it up, go get another job to make more money. Well, you have college educated people then who now are in trouble. And when I say in trouble, what I mean is they're in trouble because of the fact they can't, it's hard to bring in enough money to do anything. And so I was watching this man even earlier on YouTube today, and he was talking about, he says, men are choosing not to get married anymore. So he looks like he's in maybe his 40s. And that is about the prime age that men who have been married, they get bitter and angry at women about the age of 40. Because what happens is the honeymoon is over. And so then they end up in court, they have a nasty divorce, and then they find out that the court system is charging them for child support and for alimony, and they are upset about that. And so then they are saying they don't want to get married again. They don't ever want to be with a woman again. They've been, and they're like, oh, I'm not being angry and bitter. Well, that's not exactly true. They are being angry and bitter. And they carry that for a long time, too. And so then those are the kind of men who want to seek out a woman who is, not going to push back against them. That's why they usually go to younger women. And so they'll go to a woman that they think is naive and stupid. That's what they do. And then they'll get into another marriage and the same thing will happen again. And, then that's usually about it, for them. And then they blame the woman for it too. They blame the woman. They don't blame society. They blame the woman. The second point you were saying about YouTube posting stuff for free. The thing is that YouTube is a free service, and the cost of ads and everything, they download nearly a quarter of the petabyte pricey. What is a petabyte pricey? I don't know what that is. Now, YouTube has advertising. Now, this is the thing that never made any sense to me, is why YouTube would want to get rid of its advertising. It never made sense to me. And Google, at one point, they even said, if people don't put advertising on their videos, because there was this whole slew, there was a huge movement since the beginning of YouTube's partner program, where there was these people who said, oh, I don't want monetization. I have a job. I don't want to get paid. I'm just on here for this. I'm on here for that. And they were carrying on and on and on about what they didn't want. They didn't want advertising. They just wanted a website without any advertising on it. That's what they were carrying on about. And it's like, well, how does Google make any money? Then Google had said at one point, they said, well, we're just going to put advertising on where we want to put advertising. So I'm just thinking, like, even my videos, Google can put advertising on my videos and they can earn revenue, and I wouldn't be earning any revenue because I'm not eligible for the partner program, or I'm not signed up for it right now. I mean, I wish I could get revenue for the, like the great revenue that I had before, but these activism movements that are going against Google. And you know what I've noticed? A lot of them are, I believe what they are is church groups. I think the church groups are anti-internet. I really do. I think they've decided that they're going to come on the internet and try to disrupt it in some way. I'm not, and so they come on the internet and then they'll say, well, I don't want to earn revenue. If God wants me to earn revenue, then God will make sure that I earn revenue. And it's like, well, okay, but first of all, you're a nonprofit. You claim you're a nonprofit, or you've signed up to be a nonprofit. It's like, so what's wrong with other people doing it? And if you don't like what's going on the internet, then I hate to tell people to get off the internet, but that's kind of where the direction I was headed. It's like, well, let the people who want to be on the internet be on the internet. You've heard things about what potentially could be on the internet. There's something you don't like about it. I'm not sure what it is, but you're trying to disrupt things for other people who have created a source of revenue and income. And so, like, why is it okay? So we've got Hollywood, who is upset with the internet. We have got parents upset with the internet. We have got church people who are upset with the internet. And then we've got men who are upset with the internet, and they just say they want it gone. They don't like it anymore. It's ruined their marriages because they got caught cheating. So they were with another woman or something, and the internet ruined. But it was their own fault. So let's see here. Venetia Sluckman says, petabyte is 1,000 terabyte. Oh, I never knew what the next byte was after a terabyte. So a petabyte is 1,000 terabytes, and a terabyte is 1,000 gigabytes. Yes. And then a megabyte is 1,024 bytes, right? A megabyte is 1,024 bytes, if I remember correctly. 1,024 pixels is a megabyte, or something like that. Or 1,024 bytes is a megabyte, right? If I remember correctly. Or has it been adjusted to 1,000 instead of 1,024? So last I knew, I thought there was 1,024 bytes in 1 megabyte. And so I actually thought that 1 terabyte was 1,024 megabytes in 1,024 megabytes is in a gigabyte, and then 1,024 gigabytes is a terabyte, and so it progressively steps up, or am I wrong? Maybe you can tell me. So for example, the ad you watch raises YouTube 5 cents. So if nobody watches and brings no money, it's expensive to keep it saved, and that's why they put the goal of 10,000 subs for ad revenue, 10,000 subscribers for ad revenue. A megabyte is a billion bytes. I mean a million, not a billion. Well, see, I never knew that. Oh, you're saying 1,000 subscribers for ad revenue. So, so YouTube wants to get the most bang for their buck out of ad revenue. And that's why they want, that's the thing that I always heard too. And that's why I'm hoping that the 1,000 subscribers will come faster and sooner than, because, there was, at the beginning of the partner program, which was, 18 years ago, or 2007 time frame, I'm going to estimate. YouTube's 20 years old, so, about 18 years ago. So when they were first rolling the partner program out into beta, they must have had to have known that there was going to be some pushback related to the internet, and I didn't know it would get so nasty, but I'm hoping the nastiness is done with now. I really do. I hope the nastiness is done with. But that's something that I had always heard. People were writing on the internet, and that's what they were saying. They said, for people to have to make a living, they said you could actually make a living from having 1,000 followers. And I thought, well, that sounds pretty decent. But then some of these others decided to raise the bar that you could have up to 500 million followers. And I'm like, what in the world? That seems like you're being kind of greedy with your followers right there. Having a million of them, but the thing, what I always compared everything to real life. Hey, would you stop that? You don't scratch that much. I don't think you itch that much. You're just doing that out of a nervous habit. Now quit. You're annoying. You are annoying. Quit scratching. You don't have a scratch that much. And so the thing I was thinking about is, okay, so I compare everything on the internet to real life. And I think about, okay, well, there's things that we can do on the internet that's hard to do in real life. There's things in real life that's hard to do on the internet. And so, but the 1,000 followers thing was something that kind of crossed over to both realms. And so it had me thinking, it's like, okay, if you live in a small town of 500 people and you have a grocery store, it's likely that you might be able to make a living off of 500 people in your small town, possibly. But if you have a larger town of 5,000 people, then it's likely you could make a living off of your grocery store or your business off of 1,000 people. So whatever your business is, you may not necessarily be seeing your 1,000 customers all the time, unless it's gas or something like that, or it's a grocery store or something like that. So there was it was just kind of a little rule of starting off small, where someone had said, that's all it takes is 1,000 people to get your business boosted. Now, I didn't realize 1 million subs is enough to have a mansion in just a year. I'd love to have a mansion. And really, I'd love to have the 1 million subs, the mansion. However, I'd be happy with a house. And it doesn't have to be a mansion. But it's going to be a mansion for me, because it's a house, and it would be my own, that I would be able to have as my own. That's what I would love. Well, that means some YouTubers are kind of greedy then, because they've got like 500 million subscribers. And it's like, I mean, they could buy 500 million. That could be 500 million mansions. They could have 500 million mansions. So if there's 1 million, they got 500 million subscribers. That would be 500. Or wait, I'm trying to figure this out now. 500 million. I'm trying to figure this out. 500. That's one individual person. So 500 million, so that would be 500 mansions, I'm thinking. So if it's 500 million, that would be 500 mansions. So that's not a lot, but that would be a mansion for 500 people. If they have 500 million followers. Yeah, 500 mansions. But the thing is it has to be sustainable, though, because realistically, if you think of a person that has 500 million followers and they have a mansion, or let's say 1 million followers and they have a mansion, and most YouTubers don't even have a place to live, is my understanding, even though they have millions of followers. There are YouTubers who have 10 million followers and they can barely afford to get by right now, because the plug has been pulled for a lot of YouTubers related to how things were going in the past. And so, which has caused a big problem across the YouTube community. And I know Donald Trump had mentioned in his Wednesday briefing, he said he thought that the internet, that he thought it would be great for Wall Street. He said he thought the internet would be great for Wall Street, and he referenced Facebook and Google and X and all these technology companies, and he was saying that he just thought, and so I'm not sure how the technology companies feel about all this. Okay, I'm not sure what you mean. There's no such thing as a YouTuber with 1 million followers with insufficient money. Okay, do you want me to give you an example? For example, the guy Jesse Wellens. Yeah, Jesse Wellens has, I think he has way over 10 million followers. He might be close to 15, and he used to do prank versus prank. He said things are bad for him. Now, that's what he was saying, is that the money is not that great. He does travel. But it sounded like he was saying that the money, he said in one of his last videos that he's broke. That's what he said. He wanted to be able to buy a house one day, but he said he's broke. And so he said that, and that's what he's been saying, is that he just doesn't. And there's other people who have been saying the same thing, that they're broke and that they have millions of followers, but the money's just not there. Yeah, 1 million is a lot, but the money's just not there. That's what they're saying, is the money is not there. And even, there's another one I'll cite. It sounds like the kid behind a camera up there in Charleston, South Carolina, in that area. They've been living in a house, buying a house. They have 1 million followers, but they're not living in a mansion, though. They're living in a big property, but they're not living in a mansion. Now, myself, I never was able to get into that arena of 1 million followers. Now, some of the other people who did stuff like, what's her name? The Bag a Day Crochet. She went over 1 million, and it's my understanding, though, that she works with some construction company or something, or she has 2 houses. They said one of them was her grandma's that she was living in, and then eventually she bought her own house. Look, every ad is 5 cents. YouTube takes 3. Leaves 2 cents a video, usually has 3 ads, so they raise 6 cents per person. If 1 million people watch a video, that's been raised 60 cents. Well, the last I knew, I don't know what those numbers are that you're citing there, because you could be citing something that's completely different. All I know is that the YouTube Partner Program says that the 55% is what the content creator gets, and YouTube gets 45%, and then they have different ad auctions. Did you know that? YouTube has different ad auctions. So Venetia Sluckman, I don't know where you're getting your information from, because you might be part of something that's different than the YouTube Partner Program. And so there was a point when I was a YouTube partner, at the beginning, I was getting 70%. So I was going into my content ID, and YouTube was giving me 70% of advertising revenue. And even though it said 55% and 45%, they were giving me more. And I was happy with that. They were giving me more than what the YouTube partner, so they have some different figures and things that they'll use, different gauges and metrics. I don't know what they are. It just depends on who the advertiser is and how much they're willing to give. So if you have an advertiser who's willing to give 80% to a content creator, then why would YouTube keep it if the advertiser wants to give 80% to content creators? I don't think Google is just going to keep it, because Google has plenty of money. YouTube decreased it. They take more than half. I haven't seen that. When I go to the YouTube help forum, it still says that it's a 55-45 split. So I haven't seen that. So if you're part of another network, are you part of another network? Because Vinicius Luckman, I thought you were a kid. Oh, you know what? If you that's the whole thing. If you're part of a network, this is what they do. So you have a person who is in charge, and they get the 55%. Oh, you're an adolescent. So how would you know this stuff? Because if you're an adolescent, then that means that you're a child. And so if you're part of a network, or someone who's part of a network, what they do is that they get the 55%. YouTube takes 45%. Then you lose even more money because you're part of a network. And so I actually think that what you're telling is you're not telling the full story of what you're part of. Because if you're part of one of those multi-channel networks, that was one of the reasons I would never join them, was because the thing is they will only revenue share from the 55%, which means there's even less money for the content creator. So you're better off to try to be with YouTube independent than you are to join a network, because the networks won't pay people. That's one of the pitfalls of the networks, of the multi-channel networks. So they're notorious for stiffing people from paying them. I mean, this is just a common practice, unfortunately, across the internet and across a lot of contract business, stiffing people for doing work and not paying them. So I'm not part of any. I just acquired the information by public information. Well, that's what I did too. And so you're getting information a little bit differently, but you did prompt my memory related to the multi-channel networks, because YouTube pays 55% to the content creator. So maybe you had someone lie to you, Vinicius Luckman. I don't know. I know that when I go into the area and read through the contract and the past contracts, it says 55%. So if YouTube or Google has something different, then maybe they'll put a notice out that they're not paying people as much, if that's true, which I don't know that I believe that it's true. I believe what you're talking about is the multi-channel network. They get paid 55%, and then the people who work for them are paid out of the 55%. Well, yeah, the money could be good in that 55%, because a multi-channel network can have 500 million people in that multi-channel network. So the money can be good. So if you're cost sharing 55% of what you're earning, that person at the top is required to pay you out of that 55%. So maybe you're only getting 35%, which you're still probably getting suckered out of that and not getting as much as what you would be if you were doing it by yourself. You're not okay. Well, it's not a steady number. It's usually an amount of money per 1,000 views, but it also depends on the watch time. Yeah, well, a lot of it depends on, YouTube is considering the clicks, not the clicks, the views. YouTube is placing, so they're placing a bigger emphasis on views, whereas in the past they weren't counting shorts, and now they're counting shorts, it sounded like. So at one point they were not including the views from shorts for some reason. I don't know why. And then they decided to include the views from shorts. And so then there's also your audience retention, which I believe they're calling that engagement now. And so they're looking at how much people are engaged on your videos and things like that related to views. Yeah, Shorts gives you 10 cents per 1,000 views. Oh, that's pretty cool. So you actually get more money. Well, that's because Shorts are popular. You get 10 cents per view. And, well, Vinicius Luckman, okay, let me throw this scenario at you. Think about this. Back in the day, you had a website, that had written dialogue on the website, and you had pictures. Oh, per thousand views, 10 cents per thousand views. That's not too bad. I mean, according to my views, I should be monetized, but I'm not sure what's going on inside of my analytics that I'm not, because it's saying that I don't have enough views, but when I do it for 90 days, it says that I have enough shorts views. So I don't know what's going on. I mean, I've got a lot of views on in my analytics, so I don't know if YouTube is messing up or what's going on, but something is not quite right with my analytics, because according to my analytics, I've got enough watch time hours, and I have enough shorts views as well to be monetized. So everybody's trying to figure that out. That was one of the problems at the beginning of YouTube. All these guys, they were trying so hard, and I don't know why, because it's like everybody does get paid differently. And so we were in our niches at the beginning. You don't have to do niches. You may ask for help to YouTube, because this can be an internal issue, or properly told why you can't get the AdSense. Actually, I have an AdSense account. It's not that I can't get AdSense. I have an AdSense account right now. So I'm not banned from anything. It's just that something within YouTube doesn't look like it's working right. That's all. I mean, because it just looks like maybe the analytics is not working right, or my account has just been hijacked or something. I'm not quite sure what's going on, but it just doesn't look, it looks like I've met the criteria. I just don't have the 1,000 followers. But it looks like I have the views, and so I don't know. I have no idea. I know I had it at one time, with my other account. If I would have kept that one, if I would have kept that one, I'm thinking the only thing I probably could have restructured that channel. I could have kept the content I had and restructured my channel into what I'm doing now anyway, because that's where I was going anyway, because I knew the other channel wasn't working. And everybody was saying, well, just start a new channel. It's like, what I should have done was kept my old channel and then started the new channel off of that one, and then I would have been able to monetize right away, as opposed to what I was doing, where now I have to just completely start over and get a new AdSense, which I do have an AdSense. So you may, I don't know, who would I ask for help yet? Probably YouTube. Ask YouTube for help. An internal issue on their part. I don't know. I mean, it could be an internal issue, because I've been looking at a lot of the things like in my analytics, and sometimes it does seem like my analytics may not be jiving up correctly. I don't know. I have no idea. It just looks that way. And even my shorts, I knew my shorts is like, here I am getting views, and they're being watched. I knew they're being watched, and some of them I'm getting a pretty good retention. Even though they're short, I'm getting a pretty good retention on them. And I'm thinking, I don't know. I mean, maybe there is an error within the analytics. There could be. I should go into, I haven't been into Google Analytics for a long time. I always had fun playing around in there and exploring things. And I know at one point, Google Analytics, we could connect our YouTube. Oh my gosh, this was fun. I could actually connect my blog to, I could connect it to Google Analytics, and this was crazy. There was a guy from Canada, and he was always on my blog. He was always on there scraping all the time because I would see when I would put up a new blog post on my blog, and he would go look at my, he would go literally look at what I was doing on my blog to see what I was doing. So I don't know if he was stealing patterns or what, and usually that's what people call scraping. And so he was from Canada, and he was just like always wanting to see what I was doing. And so I started watching that, and then there was another lady who was from California, and she had told me that his sole purpose was to scrape as many people off of me as what he could. But it turned out that the people that he was scraping, they actually still don't like him to this day because he had a Facebook, and he would always want people talking about him. And so people would go to him to promote their websites, and I was always someone who was willing to let other people promote their things, even though sometimes it did look a little bit like spam. And so the only thing that I asked was, could you sometimes maybe put something that is related to what I'm doing, or write something and then share your link. We can still do that on YouTube. We can still share links. Even on the shorts. Even links don't show up on the shorts, though. Google has not enabled that yet. So on the shorts, people can't just spam a bunch of links. Now, the independent content creators can share links on your own channel. You can share links. And on the original landscape videos, you can share links. But I think that Google right now has shut the links off because of the multi-channel networks and all the spam that they're afraid of that would take place with the amount of people that are on YouTube right now. I'm just speculating and talking out loud because imagine this. Think about this. If I had I've got my live stream running right now. So instead of getting someone writing comments or saying hi every once in a while or having a conversation, they're just putting in a bunch of links. And it's like, well, what are they? So basically what they're doing is they're spamming their websites. Yeah, scrapers steal personal information. Yes, and that's what this guy in Canada was doing. And he was stealing all kinds of personal information on me. And sometimes I can see a tiny bit of his own influencing of things where he has taken things that I talked about, and then he has utilized it for himself, and he's utilized it for the other woman who they both went over 1 million subscribers on YouTube. And so it was like, but they were always excluding me. And so if she was part of, I think she might be part of Legacy Media too, because she didn't even remember me at all when she was saying that she did things by herself. That wasn't true. I gave her shout outs when I had my channel, and I know people don't everybody was asking for a shout out all the time because the Los Angeles people were always talking about shout outs. And so I thought, well, heck, if people want shout outs, we can just do shout outs if that's going to bring people to the channel. If that's all they want is a little shout out, I'll do them for free. I can hope that someone subscribes, but I'm not going to make it mandatory because a lot of people, that's what they'll do. Right now they have their channels locked up. They have them locked up so that you have to be subscribed for 20 minutes. And that's how they're getting their subscribers, is forcing people to subscribe for 20 minutes. Or some of them are like 5 weeks. And it's like, well, apparently you don't want any subscribers at all. If you have to be subscribed for 5 weeks before you can chat, they don't want any subscribers at all. And I have seen that. There's some people who are just, they don't care. They don't want any subscribers at all. And so they want to put up their live streams. They just don't want anybody chatting on their channels. And so sometimes that seems to be more of the research and science type people who don't want who don't want to deal with a bunch of people who are arguing about mindless stuff. And so it kind of makes sense to me. But yeah, the scraper that I had from Canada, it's like he can do it by himself. That's where the point that I got to is that he just took the fun out of it for everybody, and it's his fault. People don't get along on YouTube because of it. It's his fault. And so I deleted all my videos that matched up next to his, and so for me, I kind of was thinking, well, it would have been nice if I kept my YouTube channel because I had a longer, my channel was way older than his. But if he wants to have it that way, that's fine. It's like he's up in Canada, and he's been very, very mean to women in the United States. He's been very mean to women in general, and he's just a scraper, and he's someone who just does the email list scraping, and he swears by the email thing. He has wanted to have his own website, and that's fine. He wasn't loyal to YouTube in any way, meaningful way whatsoever. So he just wanted to have his own yarn company, and he just wanted to have his everything separate. And I guess he's got like a bunch of women up there with him in Canada, even though he's not interested in women at all. And so um, so I mean, Canada is supposed to be doing things up in their own country, not like trying to do things in the United States, because it's like, well, we're here in the United States, not in Canada. And so he's supposed to be doing things local to his area, not just trying to steal people to watch him and that he's the only one. So he kind of reminds me a lot of Donald Trump in a way, where Donald is an isolationist. And so this guy up in Canada is an isolationist. And so he sows discourse just like Donald Trump. And that's what he was always doing on Facebook too. And so there was a whole bunch of men that were doing that. And I don't know why they were doing that. And they still are. And the U.S. shouldn't be influencing Brazil. I don't know, what is the U.S. influencing Brazil for? Because I don't see how the United States is influencing Brazil, because Brazil is who sent their people to the United States. Brazil sent their people to the United States to come in here illegally. And so why is Brazil, if it's true, I don't know. Let me ask you this, Vinicius Luckman. Can you answer this question? Does Brazil even have a government? Does Brazil have a government? I mean, what? Because the people from Brazil and from Central America, why have they been coming to the United States to begin with? The 50% tariffs due to the political statutes. Well, it sounds to me, yeah, but Brazil, okay, all of these countries, you know what they're doing? They're raising the tariffs higher because they want the United States to pay higher prices to support their country. Well, what makes them think that the United States can support their countries? I mean, shouldn't their countries figure that out? Because of bad living conditions. Well, the United States has bad living conditions. What are their bad living conditions? So they think the United States should have to pay for them? Why should... Okay, Vinicius Luckman, I've been homeless for over 3 years. So how is my... And so people from Venezuela and Brazil don't care about me. They don't care that I'm homeless. And them coming to the United States actually makes things worse for me. I've been homeless for over 3 years. And people from Brazil and the illegals coming to the United States don't care one bit about me. They're actually making things worse for those of us in the United States. The United States has really bad living conditions too. So apparently you guys don't look at the homes that people have been living in inner cities that have holes in the floors and they're dumps, and the houses are about ready to fall over. Look at your country, discuss about going to US and Venezuela, discuss about going to Brazil. Why do I want to talk about that? That's not my place to talk about it. Now, I talked about going on a trip one time when things were better for me, but I didn't go to any of those countries. And so why do I don't want to talk about that stuff because I'm tired of talking about other countries when we don't even get help. Are you in Venezuela, Vinicius Luckman? Or are you in Brazil? Oh, well, you're in Brazil. And you're a child. So that means that your your government is stealing money from you. You're going to have to take that up with your government. So if you're talking about the YouTube Partner Program, your government is doing it. You might want to look and ask your government why they have it set up so that they're stealing money from you as a YouTube partner. So um, your settings are going to be different than what the United States has. So if they're taking more, you might want to talk to your government and ask them why they're being a dictator over you. Also, in what way do you mean homeless? Exactly. I don't own a roof or anything. I'm homeless. And so I'm tired of hearing from those of you in Brazil related to what homeless is because you guys fail to lack to listen. Homeless means that you don't have a home to live in. That's what homeless is. And so I'd like to ask the people in Brazil what is exactly homeless for them because someone's been traveling them around the world and giving them places to live in the United States. I don't have a home to live in because of a nasty marriage and because someone decided to let people out of prison who should have be in prison, which maybe that included my ex-husband who was physically abusive to me. He was physically abusive to me. Now, why am I the one who's homeless? And so I don't want, homeless is like no revenue, no house, no nothing, living in the streets. Homeless means that you can't afford to buy a home. That's what homeless is to me, that you can't afford to buy a home. Homeless is that you can't get into a place to live because they just keep raising the prices up higher and higher and you can't get a place to live. That's what homeless is. You can be someplace in a temporary situation and that's homeless. Being in the streets is not homeless. I mean, being in the streets is homeless, but there's varying degrees of homeless. Well, then you keep it in your country. You keep it in your country. In the United States has people who are living in the streets that are homeless too. Some of them have two places to live because in the United States, you have got people who are, they call them half homeless because Disney does this thing down in Florida where they live in mansions down in Florida and then they go live in a tent during the day on the street. So you tell me what kind of homeless those people have, but I'm just plain homeless. I don't have a place to live because of a shitty marriage. And, so if you have men who are coming to the United States thinking they're going to find a woman to marry them, they better have another thing coming because that ain't going to happen. They're not going to find a woman in the United States who wants their stanky ass. So they need to stay away from the United States right now because it's a hotbed of anger and inflation, and people are homeless. We don't want to hear your street stuff. We don't want to hear where you're set in your ways, and you don't want to learn about other ways of what homeless is because there's some people who are homeless that they're living with their family. I have family like that too who is living with other people because they're homeless. And you have military who are homeless because they're transient situations and they're homeless. And then you have women like me who are from a divorce being homeless. So you have a lot of varying degrees of what homeless is. And so you're thinking with a very narrow brain. Well, I do consider that homeless. Well, you ask your own country for help then. You live under a dictatorship. You ask your own country for help. There's nothing I can do for you. There's absolutely nothing I can do for you. And Donald Trump does not like Venezuela. Donald Trump does not like Venezuela or Brazil, it sounds like. Because you guys have a lot of drugs and stuff going on. Yeah, I agree your country is incompetent. And it sounds like the people are incompetent too. And so, I mean, you said you're a kid, and so you must have a place to live. And if money is being taken from people who are doing YouTube in Brazil, you want to talk to your country about that. So you have different things going on. And if you're part of a network, you want to talk to your network about that. There's nothing we can do for you. There's nothing I can do for you. And so I don't know what, where you get your figures and your numbers from, so everything is going to be different. And so I don't know where you get your numbers and statistics from, but it's different from what we have going on here in the United States. So you can't just say that everything is going to be the same because there's a currency exchange rate. Well, you just said it's bad, your country is corrupt. I mean, the United States has some corrupt things going on, but, it's like, well, you need to take that up with your country, not the United States. There's nothing we can do for you. I mean, the only thing that we can do is contact our president and tell him that your country is corrupt. And you know what'll happen? Our president, as crazy and nutso as he is, he's liable to just cut off all communication. Well, actually, I think they've already done that because they said that there's so much drugs coming out of your country that the United States wants nothing to do with Brazil and Venezuela because of all the murders and everything that you guys have done coming up here in the United States. I mean, you heard of Laken Riley, right? And so because your people came to the United States and caused a whole bunch of trouble, nobody wants you guys here. Nobody wants you here. And Donald is working on getting you guys out of the country as fast as possible. And he was talking about that the other day, too. Your country is corrupt to the point of doing a treaty with drug gangs that control the police of Sao Paulo. Does your country have a state controlled by a gang? Well, our country is controlled by money. And so you could call it in a sense. However, we have multiple metrics and gauges, so you're going to have your own uprising in your country, I guess. You're going to have to confront that demon yourself. But sending people to other countries and causing problems in the United States is not going to help the case for your country at all. I mean, you're going to have to find something in your region and come to some kind of peaceful solution related to the gangs in your country. I mean, because there's nothing I can do for that. It sounds like people have tried to help you guys, but it's not going to help just sending people into the United States. It does nothing. Well, the 2022 election was chaotic. You may search the Brazil 2022 election if you want to know more about it. I really don't. I was made homeless in 2022. I've been homeless since the year 2022, so I have my own problems to deal with. I can't do anything about foreign countries. I'm not in politics. There's nothing I can do. I can't even do anything with my own country related to politics and getting the help that I need. And see, when they sent people to the United States from other countries, all it does is makes prices go up inside of the United States. That's all that happens. Things get more expensive inside of the United States, and things just get worse for me. And it's like, well, where's the help for me? I'm an American citizen. You guys aren't. Well, what makes you think that I want a bunch more people inside of the United States that you would get help and that I wouldn't? And so my civil rights currently are being violated and have been violated. And so if the money's being given to you, well, I'm an American citizen. So what gives you rights to come to the United States over me when I'm an American citizen? And so there's crimes taking place inside of the United States where I need to seek asylum from a physically violent husband. But yet there's no help for me. So what makes you think you can come to the United States seeking asylum from violence when we have violence inside of the United States and there's no help for me? What are you saying is not true? Okay, you're not from the United States, so you can't say what is true and what isn't true. You're not from the United States. The thing for the work in the U.S. is that the average American is expensive. The companies take people from other countries because they accept work for less because their own country is worse. That's not true. I've looked at the pictures on Google Maps, and you guys have houses. You have jobs down there. You have all kinds of things. You have tourism. You have all kinds of tourism. So how is it you think you need to be seeking asylum for something, but yet you have tourism? You guys are lying. You guys are lying about the conditions of your country. Google has pictures of where you live, and your housing, it looks like you have plenty of houses to live in. They look like suitable houses to live in. I mean, so you have to create your own economy. I mean, the United States is only 250 years old. I'm thinking that Brazil is much older than the United States. So how come you haven't created your own economy in Brazil? I think the United States is a younger country than Brazil, isn't it? You don't know much, though. You must dig deeper. Brazil shows its only good side. Well, that's what United States does, is only shows a good side. That's what tourism and travel is about. So the United States has a lot of problems. Why don't you dig deeper? I don't have anything. I'm not interested in having illegals, and that's what Donald Trump has been talking about, is getting them gone out of the United States. Well, he said that they've completely cut off immigration altogether, but yet there's some American officials who have a questioning voice related to that being true. But they're like, okay, they're not confronting Donald right now related to what he's saying, even though they know what he's saying is not true. But they're pissed at him. And, I think maybe a lot of people are thinking that Donald had something to do with the migration of people coming into the United States, possibly, because it's related to money laundering. You know, Somehow it's related to money laundering. I don't know who's doing it. I have absolutely no idea who's doing it. But it's related to money laundering and human trafficking. And they're talking about that an awful, awful lot in Congress. They're talking about human trafficking, money laundering, and money coming into the drugs coming into the United States. So the way you do it is you build a bunch of houses in the United States, you hike up the price, and you can launder the money into the United States a lot faster. The same thing if drugs are coming into the United States. Um, that I'm still confused on. It would have to be legal drugs, though, in order to launder money. through medical, it would have to be legal drugs, and you hike the prices up and you can launder the money faster. Look, have you seen brick houses that are nearly falling in cliffs and people getting killed because of a phone? I don't think your country has that. Gangs, community plans, robberies, and drug. It does. It absolutely does. We hear about this every day on the news about gangs, street gangs in the United States. We have them every day, multiple times a day. Have you even looked at the news in the United States? Because we have a big problem with street gangs in the United States and armed firearms and things like that. And there's a people who want to get rid of firearms. That's just a kind of a null and void argument because that's all it is an argument. Um, which really it cancels out the First Amendment in a lot of ways. We have a well-regulated media under the Second Amendment. That's basically what we have. Um, we I don't even see brick houses where I'm at. Where I'm at, I don't even hardly see any brick houses. They're mostly made of wood and subpar materials. And so they haven't been building anything that's of much nice quality because of where I'm at. They're not going to build it very nice because of the fact that they're just not going to build it very nice. And so, but yes, we do have street gangs and like, did you hear of the violent protesting and stuff that's been going on in the United States the past several years? You haven't heard of that? Let's see, I've not searched much about the street gangs, but like my country, people killed to strive survival in the worst situations. A news reporter was killed by one of those communities because she drank. I knew about the protests, and they are brain dead for that. Well, it's a lose-lose situation for everybody. And so I just want to stress I don't need you telling me what homeless is, Vinicius Luckman. I don't need you telling me what homeless is because I'm homeless. And maybe you'll be homeless one day. That's the thing I'll have to say. Maybe you will be homeless one day in a different situation of homeless, and then you'll have an understanding of what it is. Because there's an oppression of homelessness. Women, people who get divorced become homeless. And so you need to educate yourself. You really do. You need to educate yourself related to there's several types of homelessness that we have in the United States. And you're always going to be met with resistance, especially from women and some men related to what homeless is. It's not just street homeless. And you need to stop with your bullshit because I'm tired of it. I'm tired of people like you who are just saying, "Oh, if you're not street homeless, then you're not homeless." You're full of fucking shit, and I don't want to hear it. Yeah, it's your opinion, but you're being a fucking asshole is what you are. I think you're lying, and I think you're an adult pretending to be a child. That's what I think. I think you're an adult pretending to be a child. And you're the type of people, you're probably from Africa or something, because that's the kind of bullshit I'm tired of, is the foreign countries and their foreign adversaries who are just trying to sow discourse in the United States. Even Donald Trump has toned down his rhetoric, but you people seem to still be nasty about what it is that you're doing because you have absolutely nothing good to say in the United States. And Donald Trump does not like you guys. I know that for a fact. Donald Trump does not like you. The Republicans do not like you. You're bringing drugs in the United States. None of the Republicans or even any of the politicians like you. Most Americans don't like you. So what? I mean, what part of this don't you get? I mean, I don't know what you want. I don't believe you. I think you're an adult. I think you're lying, and I think you're an adult. Otherwise, you're not supposed to be on the internet right now anyway. I mean, so you've got whatever it is. You're part of that corrupt garbage out of legacy media or something. Either that or you're being trafficked. I mean, that's what it sounds like. You're one of these kids that's being trafficked through the internet. So they got you doing work for free on the internet. So they're telling you that it's a job and you're basically working for free on YouTube or something. You're over you're over 13. Yeah. Well, yeah, but there's a lot of perverts on in the United States who have said they're over 13, and it turns out that they're adults who said they were 13 years old. So I'm not buying what you're saying at all. I think you're lying. I think you're over the age of 18. And I don't believe you. I just don't believe you. Well, that lie about and they lie about what they look like too, because look at your picture. The way you're talking, I don't even think you look anything like the picture that you have up there. I just don't. I think you're actually I think you've stolen someone's picture. I don't believe your age thing. I think you're over. I think you're an adult. And if I were to venture a guess, I would say that you're a predator. That's what I would say. You're a predator, and that's why you look at to see the things that I talk about. So I think you're a predator from Brazil and Venezuela, because you guys are down there in the same area. You cause a lot of the same problems, and you're on the watch list of United States Homeland Security. And Donald Trump has been saying that you guys are not supposed to be coming into the United States at all. And I think he's not doing any business with you either for some reason. I don't know why. Because you did some corrupt practices. Well, you sent people in the United States, and you've been killing people in the United States. I don't know what why don't you make your own content? I don't know what you're talking about my content. I'm not putting up I'm not putting up I'm not putting up bait things for people to contact me. Now a lot of you guys, like you put up bait things. Now you ask for Cash App all the time. You put up your email because that's how you coerce people into conversations, is because you put up. I'm not doing anything predatory. I'm not collecting information. I'm not doing anything predatory. So I don't know what you're talking about with my content. I'm just putting up content of things that are stuff that I make. So I don't know what you're talking about. What I'm talking about is abuses that I've been met with in marriage. But I don't know what you're talking about my content being predatory, because it's not. And actually, I've told about all the troll farms. I'm pretty sure that Brazil probably has a bunch of troll farms as well. Because a lot of them, I've noticed a common denominator that a lot of the people lie. Uh, okay, your disagreement means that. Why do you have to disagree? I mean, why can't you have a real conversation? That's the problem, is that you just want to disagree just to hear yourself disagree. And so you're not even willing to have a conversation for anything. A lot of the people who come okay, you're a child. Why should I even waste my time talking to you? I'm not going to. Goodbye.